Parles-tu français? Hablas español? Parli italiano? If you've used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world. With lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers, Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Wondery. Spelled BABBEL.com/Wondery. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Never go to the second location. Always trust your gut. Hello, my name is Chrissy Champagne. You are listening to Residue, a true crime podcast dedicated to keeping you paranoid. And you know, here at Residue, we talk about the truth behind your favorite movies, your favorite made-for-TV movies, your favorite theatrical releases, those VHS tapes that you had as a kid that you watched over and over. And before we get started, just to let you know, you can follow me on Instagram at Residue Podcast, TikTok Residue, A True Crime Pod, and Facebook Residue, A True Crime Podcast. And as always, the best thing that you can do for any podcast that you love is leave a 5-star review. You guys rule. My Residues, my Residue, the best in town. Are you even kidding me with these reviews you've been leaving me? I love you. Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Follow Residue. You know, I am taking requests, so if you want to leave a comment on my Spotify, that's totally up to you. But don't forget to hit that follow button, and also, as always, listener discretion is advised. Abducted at an HBCU, a Black Girl Missing movie, was premiered on Lifetime TV channel on July 20th, 2024. And the plot is about a college student named Shannon, played by Tanyelle Kean, is struggling financially. And she disappears after dropping out of class as her counselor, Ellen, played by Notori Naughton, tries to get people to care about this missing girl. And in the process, she uncovers a sex trafficking ring. Now, this movie is inspired by true events and social issues, but it's a fictionalized movie that draws on the real issue of missing Black women and girls, and particularly in historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs. So, although this made-for-television movie does not highlight a specific case, today we will be talking about the case of Cleashindra Hall, a missing person since 1994. Professor Avery O. Williams, an assistant professor in the Cinema, Television, and Emerging Media Studies Department at Morehouse College, has written this screenplay for Lifetime. And director Delmar Washington returns for this film. He also directed Black Girl Missing. After the success of the film Black Girl Missing, producers at Lifetime were eager for more unique stories. And this is when Professor Williams pitched his idea, which just blended perfectly with Lifetime's concept. Executive producer of the movie was Garcelle Beauvais, and she recognized the value of authenticity, so she chose to shoot part of this movie on the Morehouse College campus. This Lifetime franchise, Black Girl Missing, is addressing the missing Black girl epidemic. It's pointing out that Black women and girls are disproportionately missing and undercovered. Now, we talked about this in one of my very first episodes, I believe back in late 2023, early 2024, the case of April Gregory from my hometown. And April Gregory went missing in 1993 from a college campus on the same exact day that Kristen Smart also went missing from a college campus. But nobody hears the story of April Gregory. I probably would have never heard her name if I didn't grow up in that town. If you'd like to go back and check out that episode, it was episode 62. It is such a short episode, too, because there's no information out there about April, but it's such an important story to tell. And I believe that the story I will tell you today is also extremely important. And this is a case of a missing person. It's been since May 9th, 1994, that Cleashindra Hall, who also goes by Clea, has been missing. Cleashindra Hall, or Clea, as she loved to go by, was born on March 30th, 1976, and she was the second of 4 children with 3 brothers who adored her. She sang in the church choir. She volunteered in the church nursery because she adored working with kids. And she dreamed of becoming a pediatrician, and everyone she knew said she had the patience and the kindness to make this happen. She was a senior at Watson Chapel High School, and she excelled. Clea had great grades. She loved to read. She played drums in the marching band, and she was well liked by everyone, classmates and teachers. So by senior year, Clea's future was amazingly bright. She had so much to look forward to. Clea knew that she had to start saving money for college. And by the end of her junior year, she started working with her friend Erica. Now, Erica had a job with this guy named Dr. Larry Amos, and he had an office that was based in his home. So Erica, Clea's friend, got her this job. I do want to quickly point out that I first heard Clea's story on the podcast Black Girl Gone, and I highly suggest you check that podcast out. It is a fantastic podcast. This seemed like a fun, safe job for Clea. Her friend already worked there. It was really close to her home. And the thing is that Clea could have walked from his office to her home, but her parents were really protective of her, and they always picked her up and dropped her off. They would pick her up from school, drop her off at her job, and pick her up at the end of her shift, which was usually around 8 o'clock at night. And as a senior who was already about to graduate and take off for university, Clea was allowed to leave school early to get to her job. So her parents would usually pick her up around 2:30 in the afternoon. So her mother, Laurel Hall, she says, "No, nobody called. When am I picking you up?" And Clea says, "It should be a little after 8. I think I'm going to work a little bit longer than 8 o'clock. And Laurel fell asleep. And she was woken up hours later by her husband, frantic, asking, "Where's Clea? She never came home from work. Where is Clea?" Can you even imagine just the sheer panic and terror that would go through your body as a parent? Okay, this isn't like their daughter. Clea is so responsible. There is no way that she wouldn't come home. And every thought is running through her parents' head. It is now 12:45 a.m. in the morning, and Laurel, she picks up the phone. She calls Dr. Larry Amos. She wants to know where her daughter is, what is going on, and he says she left. She left at 8:45 p.m. when her ride picked her up. And Laurel gets on the phone with the police right away. And she takes note to the fact that Larry, he picked up the phone on the first ring, and she called the office phone number. So that was a little odd to her, that it being 12:45 a.m., he picked up the phone so quick. But she calls the police station and she tells them, "This is not normal. My 18-year-old daughter is not home. It is 1 a.m. She never came home from her job, and she was supposed to get done a little after 8 p.m. And the police didn't care. The police immediately go, "You know what? She's 18. You got to wait 24 hours. Absolute insanity to me. 24 hours lost because you say she's an 18-year-old let's just wait and see. Maybe she went out with some friends. No. These two parents know their daughter. She did not go out with some friends. She didn't have her purse with her. She didn't have money with her. She didn't have any other clothes missing from the home. Also, she's not that kind of kid. Clea has never had a pattern of not coming home when she was supposed to. She never missed curfew. She always called her parents for a ride. I mean, they drove her everywhere. You know how your kid behaves. So, of course, the theories start coming in, and some people said maybe she walked home and she was abducted. And a lot of people said maybe she just ran away. No, I mean, this girl had the brightest future. The next few weeks of her life were going to be, set in motion. Everything was set in motion and planned out. She didn't just run away. So the police aren't going to get shit moving, but the community is. And the community starts searching. They start hanging pink ribbons all over town. And this part just gives me chills to the bone, knowing that Laurel, Clea's mom, had a dream while she was missing. She had a dream that Clea was in Larry Amos's house, and she was in his bathtub with her hands tied, and she was calling out for her mother. And that dream still haunts Laurel to this day. Clea was last seen wearing a white two-piece short set imprinted with large navy blue polka dots on the shorts and navy blue stripes on the blouse, white socks, white sneakers, small stud earrings, and a white bow-type ponytail holder. So Dr. Larry Amos, he tells police that Clea left around 8:30 p.m. when her ride arrived, but nobody actually saw Clea get into a car and leave. And then her friend Erica, who is her coworker, said that she wasn't getting picked up, that she told Erica she was going to be walking home, and this is something that she didn't ever do. So did she get into a car with someone, or did she walk home? The next day was a school day. Clea never showed up to school. She loved school. She was excited because she was looking forward to giving the commencement address at the high school graduation. That was going to be in 2 weeks, and she's just gone. They immediately look at Dr. Amos, and they go to his house to talk to him, and they ask him to take a polygraph test, and he says no. They also suspect that Clea's boyfriend had some involvement in this, and they have him take a polygraph test, and the results were inconclusive. They also searched his car, and they found no clues, no evidence that Clea was ever in that vehicle. 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks for the police to search the home of Dr. Larry Amos. Why the hell did it take 2 weeks? You don't have to be some true crime enthusiast. You don't have to watch Dateline every night to know that it shouldn't take 14 days to search the place that she was last seen, to search the home of the man who was refusing to give you a polygraph test. In a Fox 16 news article, Larry Amos was interviewed, and Fox 16 got a hold of those statements that he gave investigators when Clea disappeared. Now, this was an interview he did a week after his home was raided. In a taped interview, he says that Clea came to work at 5:30 on May 9th, 1994. He said Clea left at 8:30. This was documented by her timesheet. He also told detectives that he didn't know she left until he heard the garage door close. And in a written report, his wife, Patricia Amos, said that she thought it was odd that Clea left without telling either one of them because she never did that. And then Clea's mom, Laurel, she also agrees that that is odd for Clea to do. It just wasn't like her to leave and not go, okay, bye, or I'm going. She never did stuff like that. So as I told you, the night that Clea never came home, her mother, Laurel, called Larry Amos. And when she did talk to him, he said, I don't know, she left at 8:30. And Laurel said, but who did she leave with? And he said, I don't know. But the next day after Clea's disappearance, Larry Amos left town, and he didn't return until the weekend. He said that he was feeling some heat from the community, chattering, gossiping, and he told detectives, "Would the rumor by the fact I caught a plane to where I was scheduled to go anyways, folks got it that I got rid of her and left town." So he's saying that he was already scheduled to leave town on May 10th, and people in town are just making up their little gossip, their chatty little tea, telling everyone, oh, he left town because he got rid of Clea's body. But Clea's mother asks, what is so urgent that short of life and death, which is what it was to me, that he would need to get out of town? So when police searched Larry Amos's house back in 1994, they didn't find anything, and they didn't get any tips. They didn't get any leads. Nobody knew anything. But in 2011, they get these tips. Now, these people come forward, and I believe they were contractors. They were people that worked on Larry Amos's home. They come forward now in 2011, and they tell stories about how when they worked on his home, they smelled horrible smells. They noticed that there were bugs, there were flies in this one particular area of the home. And another contractor said that he actually saw blood splattered all over the insulation while he was in the home doing work. And of course, it's the question of why didn't you come forward earlier? Of course, Laurel is saying, it saddens me that people had information that was enough. It was significant enough to get a search warrant back then, but they didn't come forward 18 years ago. So police end up removing around 4 items from the Amos home, but they didn't tell anyone what they were. And those items were sent to a state crime lab for processing. That was in March 2011. And by April 2012, those lab results from these samples, they come back negative for blood or DNA evidence. So there are no arrests made. There was no progress made in the search for Clea Hall. At this time, police were considering that Clea's case was a kidnapping. Even though there are no clues, there are no suspects, there's no potential kidnapper. Early on in this case, there was one suspect where the name was not given to the press, it was not given to the community, but it was a boy that Clea supposedly liked. And she acted friendly with him, and people saw her flirting with him, and friends said she had a little crush. So this boy was a suspect in the very beginning. His vehicle was searched, he went through an interrogation, but police could never connect him to Clea's disappearance. As of 2025, Clea's case remains unsolved, and it is officially classified as an endangered missing person. And police do continue to treat this case as a cold case, believing that foul play is very likely. And even though Larry Amos remained a person of interest, he was never charged. What is so horrifying is just how ordinary this day was. A typical routine. The same thing that this family did day after day. You wake up, you get ready for school, you go to school, you leave early, you get a ride from your parents to go to your part-time job, and then you come home. It's just a routine that they were always used to. They've done this routine 100 times before, and then somehow from point A to point B, you are gone forever. You just vanish. And no one saw anything. Clea's case is just so chilling because this was just a regular day, a regular weekday. And it reminds you how fragile your life is, how fragile our everyday routines are. And sometimes danger, it's just hiding right there in plain sight. And the people that are left behind, that's the hardest part. Can you imagine what goes through Clea's mother's mind every single day, not knowing? I think about this all of the time, the loved ones of missing people. They have no idea what their last moments were like, what their moments are like right now, where they are, what they're doing, what they went through. It would drive you insane. Laurel's dream about her daughter screaming out for her, being tied up in a bathtub, a recurring dream that haunts her all of these years later. Every single year on Clea's birthday and on May 9th, the day that Clea went missing, her family organizes a get-together. Everyone who loved Clea, everyone who loves Clea's family, they celebrate her birthday every year. And every year on May 9th, they gather together in hopes that they're going to find someone that knows something. They release balloons into the sky. And Laurel said, if I stop looking for my daughter, if I stop releasing balloons into the sky, who is going to help me find out what happened to my child? Clea would have been 49 this year. She would have been getting ready to celebrate her 50th birthday next year. As of 2009, the reward for information on the disappearance of Clea Hall was $100,000. And at this point, the Pine Bluff Police Department will not say how much it is. But if you have any information, if you know anything, if you're listening to my podcast and you know what happened that day in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, you can call the Pine Bluff Police Department at 870-730-2081. May 9th of this year, 2025, marked 31 years since the disappearance of Cleashindra Hall. Clea's mom, Laurel, she spoke to THV 11 on the 30th anniversary of her daughter's disappearance, and she told them, what we know about what happened to her, we don't know anything. This is just like it was on that day, May 9th, 1994. The police really didn't take it seriously when she disappeared. And she said, it's like not waking up from a bad dream, and it just keeps happening over and over. Laurel says that she is holding out hope that this is the last year that they have to do this. She says, I just cannot believe in a town like Pine Bluff, where everybody knows everybody, that not one person, that nobody has any information. In a news article written by Tylisa Hampton in 2024, Laurel said that it's actually incredibly difficult to believe that Clea's been missing longer than they actually had her in their presence. She says, my daughter is just an average person who had a family, who had goals, and who had dreams. And for her to be missing longer than she was actually in our presence is so hard to imagine. And she said it gets harder and harder every year. Trying to get information has been hard. Trying to stay in communication with the police department has been hard for the family. The family says that their hope is that she is alive and someone out there knows where she is. And if by chance she is not, we want to know that too so we can have some closure. I want to leave you with a quote from the made-for-television movie, the Lifetime movie, Abducted at an HBCU. Now, in one of the scenes, the main character finds a poem written on the wall, and this poem was written by one of her students who is missing. I'm convinced that we Black women possess a special, indestructible strength that allows us to not only get down, but to get up, to get through, and to get over. Stay safe and stay paranoid. Stay